Hello and welcome to the Bald Truth Review, Episode 9, a factual alternative to the state's media. Now we're going to start this week with a real pat on the back for us, because this week saw my proposition brought to have 28th of September 1769 officially recognised as Reform Day was successful. Now, Senators Balash and Gorst, the two chief ministers, which one is the real one, we're not quite sure, but they both wanted this to fail. The chief minister said that he couldn't support it. It was a sort of arbitrary choice to go for this day, even though the events of 1769 actually led to Jersey's laws being codified for the first time ever. It led to the royal court being stripped of its legislative powers. It actually led to democracy as we've got it today, flawed as that is. But fortunately, I still won the vote. In essence, intellect and democracy won out over fear and feudalism. Okay, so I didn't get everything I wanted. But the key issue here is that now that the 28th of September is officially recognised by the state, we can build on this in the future and develop it into something that will hopefully be good for both our cultural knowledge and for tourism. That's got to be a good thing. Land rezoning and corruption. Last week, I told viewers about how the new Chief of Police, Mr. Barron, appeared to be coming up with these measures to slash costs in the police by apparently not interviewing suspects and witnesses during investigations. Now, this issue came to a head again in the States this week, following my written questions to the Home Affairs Minister. I wanted to know if he could confirm that all relevant parties within this land rezoning allegation scandal had been interviewed. Now, according to answers from the Home Affairs Minister, they were. The only problem is the Deputy of Greville, who was the politician who raised all these concerns on the behalf of constituents, says that people weren't. Certainly, she states that she wasn't interviewed. So who's telling the truth? We need answers to this because, as readers, viewers should know, in the States, people are not allowed to tell lies. So just who is telling the truth? When you add in the fact that the former police chief, Mr. Power, states in his affidavit that upon telling the former Attorney General, William Balash, that he wished to investigate these land rezoning allegations, he was strongly dissuaded from doing so. Yet when he pushed the matter, apparently the Attorney General said, so be it. And of course, shortly afterwards, the police chief was suspended, as we know. Add into that the fact that the Deputy of Greville states that she was summoned to the former bailiff's office, now Senator Philip Balash, and confronted with the email complaint she'd actually sent in to the police on behalf of constituents. You have to ask the question, what is going on here? We hear that politicians must not interfere in police work. Yet this whole issue seems to smell very, very badly. We seem to be having interference from a number of different sides. Interference from people who really shouldn't be interfering. Now, when you look at this in the wider context of Graham Power's suspension, you have to ask, can this matter just be swept under the carpet? Shouldn't it be right at the fore of the Committee of Inquiry into the whole child abuse investigation that Mr. Power was trying to undertake? As I say, frankly, there's a very bad smell around this. It needs answers, and I'm certainly going to be pushing for those. Now, this week we saw another example of how the double standards within the island state media operate. Because we're going to talk about the issue of the finance industry. Now, all politicians should know that the island is very dependent on finance. The industry needs Jersey just as Jersey needs finance. We should all support finance, and we progressives do, but an ethical, well-regulated finance industry that doesn't do damage to other jurisdictions in the world, that doesn't impact negatively on some of the world's poorest people. Now, this week, great coverage was given to the thoughts of Mr. Richard Sivray, who was the former founding director of the Jersey Financial Services Commission. Now, what he was basically saying was that the island's obsession with finance was doing the island harm. What he was essentially getting at was that he felt that the island, in its pursuit of wealth, money and profit, was losing sight of fairness and justice. Well, I completely agree with Mr. Sivray. But what I want to highlight here is the media's approach to this. What Mr. Sivray is saying is nothing different at all from what me and many other progressives have been saying for years. Yes, we need finance, but not at any costs. The finance industry cannot be allowed to be the tail that wags the dog. It cannot be allowed to dictate the island at any costs. It's got to be ethical. It's got to be well regulated. And we can't have the continuous headlines of scandal that we've seen over recent months. So come on, state media. Next time a progressive politician highlights things that need to be improved in finance, let's not see the headlines about traitors, wreckers, enemies of Jersey. Let's be a bit more adult in our approach. Jimmy Savile and the continuing silence over allegations linking the disgraced former entertainer to Jersey. Now, it's pretty bizarre, really, that at a time when the Met Police in the UK are leading a very high-profile investigation into all of this, in Jersey, all we're getting is silence. Now, it just makes me think back to when I first met the new police chief, Mr. Barron, and he actually said to me, when I was part of the Home Affairs scrutiny panel, I can do softly policing, or I can do hard, crunchy policing, whatever you like. Why do I raise this? Well, this silence just makes me ask the question. I hope Mr. Barron isn't being lent on as a reason behind this silence. You know, last time around it took citizens' media to lead the way on revealing the appalling atrocities, that's the only word I can use really, that underlay the child abuse scandal of Haute Le Garonne. Surely we should now be hearing from the state's police questions being asked as to who did Jimmy Savile know in Jersey? Who enabled him? Who did he move with when he was in Jersey? Where did he stay? Are there any links between Mr. Savile and a former, very senior UK politician whose yacht regularly used to be seen moored at the water's edge in Jersey? We can't go down this route of ordinary bloggers, citizens' media having to do what is basically police work. We need answers because, as I say, the Met Police in the UK are making this a very high-profile investigation. They're trying to draw in as many people to come forward as possible. Yet in Jersey, we're hearing nothing. We know Jimmy Savile was here. We need to start finding out some answers as to who Mr. Savile knew. So come on, Mr. Barron, please let us know what's going on. Because frankly, at the moment, the silence is deafening. Now I'm going to end this week with the issue of trolls and the dark side of politics and citizens' media. Are you a troll? Could your loved one be a troll? Could a family member be a troll or a workmate? Because the thing about trolls is they blend in quite well with the rest of the human race. Indeed, trolls could be any old Jamie, Pete, Gary, or Hillary. A troll can be almost anyone. How can you spot them? Well, does someone you know, perhaps your partner, spend abnormally large amounts of time in a darkened room surrounded by laptops? Do they have a smoke machine, a cloak, some white gloves? You see, trolls specialise in putting out hate-filled threats, whether these are posts, anonymous posts, comments, emails, even phone calls. And they do actually constitute what I call the dark side of politics and citizens' media. Trolls get off on hate. They're cowardly people. But if you are a troll, or someone you know is a troll, then I've got some good news for you. Because from next week, the Bull Truth Review is going to be giving the troll their moment in the spotlight. We get a huge amount of threats, abuse, generally nasty, unpleasant comments sent, as do most citizens' media bloggers. So from next week, I'm going to be reading out some of those posts, some of those emails, maybe even playing some of those phone messages. So remember, get involved, because if you don't do politics, politics will do you.